another little simple thing that all of us can do is when you hear great feedback about somebody, um, I want to share that with that person. So, Blue, if I hear great feedback about you, I
Mhm.
want to share that with you so you know the great stuff that's being said about you. And we all want that and need that. And not enough of that is done. And again, it doesn't take much time. A quick
Oh,
email, a quick text.
no, that's so. Have you ever wanted to take your business and make it a successful franchise, but didn't know how or where to start? Today, I'm thrilled to have Natalie Fairchild, the founder of Pacific Perks Coffee, on this episode. Natalie's journey from leaving the corporate world to building a successful coffee and catering business and eventually franchising it is a testament to resilience, adaptability, and understanding how to wow your customer. Natalie's story shows that with smart delegation, a supportive community, and a focus on building authentic connections, it's possible to turn any setback into a stepping stone towards success. If you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, this episode is for you. So prepare to be inspired by my friend, Natalie Fairchild, on this episode of Navigating No. Natalie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Blue. I'm so excited.
Oh,
I
well,
I
that's
just adore
awesome.
you.
That makes two of us. That makes two of us. Well, I wanted to introduce the audience to you because you and I met when I was actually speaking for a SHRM conference and I was giving Navigating No, one of my keynote speeches. And you
Yes.
were in the audience, but you're also on the board there.
Yes.
And that's where you and I met
Right.
not too long ago. And you were telling me kind of after a speech, what happens usually is we sit down and we I think the best speakers like interact with everybody outside of just their speech,
100%.
right? Right. And
Everybody
so,
walks out of the room. You didn't do a good job.
uh, right. Can you give me some feedback? But
No.
I sat down at your table and you just kind of opened up with me about your franchise and like what you're going through and such. And I was like, that is
Yeah.
a great topic because
Yeah.
we haven't hit on that. And I would love that. So
Yeah.
I would love the everybody to kind of hear your little journey that you're kind
Yeah.
of that you've gone through.
Right. And in the midst of that story, Blue, do you remember what I asked you?
Uh,
I
n-
asked you how much time do I get after I get a no from the
yeah.
world? How much time can I just sit and sulk? And you
Yes.
said, not more than a day. I'm
That's
like,
right.
really, Blue? Oh,
Well, that's because one of the topics is that it obviously when you're rejected or you fail at something or you make a mistake or you have this self-doubt, it's like there's a certain amount of the reality is that it sucks, right? Nobody enjoys it and it is painful.
100%.
But how long do you sit there and dwell on it or let it control you or and it's like oh, well, what is that answer? Right. And when you asked, how long can I do it? I go, I don't know. If you hang on for one more day, things will go your way. And
Like,
I think
just
that's what I replied with.
I'm just like just one day is all I get. No, anyway, yes. I think that's really good advice. I've been on both sides of that coin where it's consumed me and it's been paralyzing and when I've been like, okay, this sucks, moving on, moving forward. So a little bit about me. Thank you
Absolutely.
again for having me. Natalie Fairchild with Pacific Perks Coffee. We're an espresso bar caterer, but we have 10 total services that are made to order. We've been in business over 17 years, which seems crazy. How old are we? Um, and the journey has been, we started this business because my husband at the time, I use that term endearingly, because we both respect each other. He has a debilitating illness, MS, which you're familiar with, and we needed to get him out of the corporate world. I
Hmm.
had left the corporate world, wanted to be a mom full time. I soon found out, though I love being a mom, love it, I also needed interaction and I needed to get my hands and I was starting little businesses on the side, which was my like, oh, I think you're an entrepreneur. And
Right.
so it naturally, we had an opportunity to take this business and make it our own and work together, where we like to say we had a built-in nap program for Jim.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how we started. So grew up in the Pacific Northwest, moved to Colorado, I was there for 13 years, brought the business back and started it with enough beans for coffee beans for 6 months and one espresso bar set up and a stack of business cards and all the hope and no fail, failing was not an option.
Sure. And if according to what I know about you, you don't even drink coffee.
I I don't drink coffee and people are like, don't say that. Don't, and I'm like, no, I mean
It's
it's
a
it's kind
secret.
of it's kind of interesting. I'm a morning person, so I
Mhm.
never needed the coffee, but I love chai, but I love seeing people surround themselves around their cup of coffee and snuggle in the morning. And I wish I did, and maybe I'll learn. But yeah, the joke is that I own a coffee and catering company, and I don't drink coffee, and I'm a horrible cook. So
That's all right. I didn't start drinking coffee until I was about 40. And
yeah,
even though I'd worked at Starbucks, even though I had been living in Seattle for at that time probably 25 years, I just
yeah,
wasn't a coffee person. So I
yeah,
completely understand. So
yeah.
I share that.
Yeah, 100%. And what I am passionate about, because you need to be passionate about something in your business, obviously,
Hmm.
but not only the life balance it's enabled us to create, but also just creating experiences for people and simplicity for people.
Hmm.
Because when we take our service out, it's already been prepaid by whoever hired us, and they
Hmm.
get to enjoy it for free. So it's just making people's day brighter. And I love that.
Well, basically, yeah, I basically you're like a taco truck for coffee, and it's
Yeah.
already prepaid for an event. So, for example, if I don't know if the Super Bowl was there and they brought you in and you had 15 trucks, obviously everything's taken care of, and you just enjoy that experience. So I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
except the only thing is, which everyone, it's hard to wrap your head around. We're not a truck. So we're a self-contained cart that we load up in, a mid-sized vehicle, and we are normally inside. We do outside things with pop-up type of structure or overhang, but we're mostly inside. Like we
Mhm.
can set up in break rooms, conference rooms, that kind of thing. So
That's
our
awesome.
clients are people who appreciate their employees, marketing events, community events, weddings, things like that.
Well, in the acting world, you have craft services, and it's like
Craft
it's
services.
okay. All right, so it's very
Exactly.
similar. I love that because you can during the shoots and on breaks, you're just, oh, what's that craft services? I love that.
Yeah,
Crafty.
we've been on the set of Grimm when it was filming in Portland years ago. And
Absolutely. Maybe I've visited you. I wasn't on Grimm, but I've definitely shot many commercials down in the Portland area. So,
nice, nice.
well, you would just. I want to go back to something because you would hit that you were like, well, I have my kids and I want to start a business, but I had all these little side hobbies, and you're like, oh, what direction am I going to go? And I think a lot of us are, especially an entrepreneur in that mindset, are like, what do I want? And you feel this tug back and forth because it's like, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I also want my own business. I want my own career. I want this like this appreciation. I want to succeed at
Totally.
something. And so what was that like for you? Like what was the trigger that caused you to be like, I'm going to do this, but I also want to have this work-life balance at home with my kids?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of guilt around that one, surprisingly, because there can be. It was just like I just realized that I needed a little bit of the outside world as well.
Hmm.
I absolutely 100% loved being a mom, but I
Hmm.
just needed both. And so there was no shame for that aspect of my life. Yay,
Hmm.
point there. But yeah, it was just in me. It was just I remember I started a little design consulting business and I told myself like if you're 50 and you haven't tried this, you're going to kick yourself. And I was like 30. And so I've always been one that takes risks and does things where I don't have all the answers for
Hmm.
it, but I feel a pull to try it and move forward with it.
Hmm.
And am I scared to death in that process? Absolutely. But I've always been that type of person. And so I caught that feeling of like, yeah, you need to try this. Like people
Oh,
are asking you for help and
I I love that. I think that I think I want everyone to hear that as the sense that you never have the answers, right? When you want to start a business, you don't know exactly what's coming down, right? And it's like that fear of the unknown can keep us from ever starting that dream or starting that business or going and getting that business license or starting a franchise. And it's like that fear can hold you back, but you're never going to know the answers. And it's almost like through trial and error, right? It's about navigating those rejections, that failure, that's what makes you so smart. Like we built a house, and if I didn't hire someone to build my house, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, so
Right.
you have to start somewhere.
Right. I am a huge proponent, and I think this is one of my success strategies without knowing it, but
Hmm.
I'm a huge proponent of knowing exactly what I'm really good at and what I'm not, and surrounding myself with a team that can balance out my strengths and weaknesses.
That is
That is,
so important.
yeah, putting the ego aside. And I will laugh at myself. And I'm just like, my team knows what I'm not good at, and it
Hmm.
shows.
Hmm.
And, it's just the way we are. If you are hung up on the fact that you should know everything, you'll be paralyzed and not moving forward to maybe something great.
Hmm.
So I think it's really important to highlight that.
Well, and I really like that because you have to be able to delegate certain things. There's so much time in this world that you have, and your skill set is going to be based on something else. And being able to delegate that is so important because you're never going to scale, especially in the franchise world, if you try to take everything on. It reminds me of the book E Myth, where you're smiling. I
My,
love that.
my
Okay, you
favorite.
love
Yeah.
that. Okay. So it basically this baker, her
Yes.
the narrator come or the author comes in and talks to her about if you want to scale, you have to be able to delegate correctly. But she was running into all of these problems, whether it was the manager or the baker or the opener, and it was like you have to be able to relinquish that power to people that are better than you or have a skill set that's way better than you, and you have to be able to be okay with that.
100%. And so in that instance, she liked baking pies, and that's why she created a pie shop.
Hmm.
And so many business owners, right, were drawn to something about our business that got us there. But then there's HR and payroll and scheduling and invoices and ordering. And those are the stuff, sometimes you're like, this is not what I signed up for. This is
Hmm.
not bringing me joy.
Hmm.
And
Well,
so, yeah,
and if you don't just start, you're never going to go anywhere, right? Like for the podcast, for example, with this, I don't know how to edit all of the film. I don't know how to record it. I don't know how to set the cameras up. I don't know how to do the interviews. It's like I had to delegate that out to my amazing producer in the back, and it's like I will never be able to do. I can't do that. I could spend all the time learning how to do that
right.
and taking notes and failing at it, but it's like sometimes you have to delegate out, and I have to use the time that I'm best at or my best skill set, which is to be in front of the camera and to try to interview people, right? Whereas I hire somebody else to come on and help me with that because we all need help, especially
Yeah.
if we want to scale.
Especially, yeah, that's such an important thing to wrap your arms around. And it's relieving too, because you don't have to take it on.
Hmm.
It's relinquishing the fact that you have to know everything to be able to go where you want to go. You'll learn some stuff along the way. You'll make mistakes. You'll realize that for me, bookkeeping is not something that I want to be doing, and it will cost me more money.
Hmm.
So, you just learn those things, and yeah, stay in tune with yourself, and you know what you're good at. Yeah. And
Well,
just leverage that.
Well, and I mean, like for example, if I want to get to the splits or something like that, I could watch every YouTube video ever about how to stretch. I could watch old '80s movies with Van Damme about how to and say, "Oh, I can stretch in that," or I could read a ton of different books, or I could buy a machine that's going to do it. But the end of the story is that you just start stretching, right? And that's how you get to the splits. And so you have to start. Uh, and the act of starting is the most difficult part. But once you start doing it, then you're going. What did you do for the franchise? Like, obviously, you didn't know everything. stepping in, and obviously you were getting hit left and right, I'm sure, with permitting or with
Yeah.
franchising and
Yeah.
legal such. But it's like, what was the process like for you to, I'm starting this franchise, I'm going
Yeah.
to take my step outside, boom, I get hit. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, it was a big decision. It had always been a dream, and life balance, because of the way we started the business, was so important to me that I didn't want to create this huge conglomerate that then I felt out of balance with. And so I had to come to terms with that and circle back around to the delegating and having a team, and that it doesn't have to be all be me, that kind of thing, to get comfortable with it. And kind of the one of the silver linings of 2020 was that there was grants and money, PPP that helped for payroll, and we were able to save some money to hire a consulting company,
Mm,
SME Consulting, again, where you're pulling in, to create a franchise and to start a franchise disclosure document, FDD, is like writing the Bible. I'd try and I'd be like, I don't even know where to start. I have no
hmm
idea what I'm doing. And so again, I was so excited when I found them, because I'm like, this is the partner that we need to get there.
hmm
And they helped us every step of the way. And we learned a lot during the process, because there's legal, there's the documents, there's the, decisions on what your royalties are going to be, and, all kinds of decisions. And yeah, they were
Well,
with us
that's
every step of the way.
that's so powerful because it doesn't matter what business you're starting as an
Yeah,
entrepreneur or anything.
yeah,
It's about having a confidence team around you, a community of people, but it's also hiring someone or bringing someone on that has the experience and has gone down through that fire before. And whether they hold your hand through the fire or they show you how to make it through the fire is both are priceless.
right.
But you have to be able to be willing to bring those people on. And the amount of time, I mean, that's the power of mentorship too. Like a great mentor is someone who will walk through that fire with you, right? And
Exactly.
helps you.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you're buying a shortcut. Even with, if you buy a franchise, you're buying a shortcut. Someone's gone through the pain. They have the years
Love
of
that.
experience.
Hmm
And so that's what SMB Consulting was for us in becoming a franchise. They
hmm
were the shortcut, they were the professionals. And when we get feedback from people, they're like, your FDD is so tight and so well written. And, it's because of the team
hmm
that we had surrounding us, for sure.
It's almost a turnkey process, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that's what you do with your franchise too. If somebody's interested in getting on your franchise, it's like, here you go. Here's the book. Follow along. Here's the key.
100%.
Just turn it. I love it. And are you constantly changing that? Like, are you adding to it and you're learning from mistakes and you add different things?
Yes, yes. Yeah, the right answer to that is yes. We are constantly changing and evolving. Your standard operating procedures should never be stagnant. One of our core values is, innovation and constant improvement. And so you just have to do that. Things
Hmm
change in the world, and you find a better way, whether it's from your employee or a vendor, or, one of your team members, and we change things, and we have the ability to do that. So yeah, it's always evolving, and there's a whole system of, being a franchisor on how to, document that and send that information on to your franchisees, so everyone has those updates. But yeah, it's always changing, but at least you have mostly the Bible written there. So
hmm Well, and I like that because like when I started a gym in Seattle, my biggest problem with scaling was is that people were training with me as their strength coach or their personal trainer
yeah,
because of me.
yeah,
And so everybody's like, you should start this gym and you should get all these trainers underneath you. And it was like the problem was is if a trainer was as motivated and driven as I was, they would already have their own gym. And so if I brought all these people in, it was like, I need a turnkey system to be able to provide for them a franchise. But then that's opening up a whole new
Yeah.
can of worms of like, let's open all these gyms nationwide.
Right.
And that
Right.
was that scalable problem, right? And I didn't feel like I wanted to do that. But the connections that I made I loved because everybody was a family for me that I was training.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way with your franchisees, like the people who are coming on, and do you make that
Yeah,
connection?
yeah, and that's what we're saying too. I actually just wrote something this morning right before our time together, and it was, you know, the Perks family and what that looks like. And we're all about culture and support and collaboration together. And we really are that family type of feeling in a good way.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And your story about the gym reminds me of when we started Pacific Perks, and I was the first out on events. So when we were just baby, I headed out and did all the events first, and we added people, and we did that for a little while. And then, I got the advice and read E-Myth, and it's
Right.
like, you need to be working on your business, not in it.
Hmm.
I'm like, but like, oh, and I'm the face and everyone's getting
Hmm.
attached to me.
Hmm.
And that was a hard transition because you feel like you were letting down your clients because they were so attached to
Yeah.
you and your experience. And I'm the owner. And they say, your best employee will only be 80% of who you are as the
Hmm.
business owner. And so that was a hard transition to be like, okay, I'm going to make this leap of faith,
Sure.
hope it pays off.
What would your advice be for bringing on that person that is 80%, like finding that 80%? Because it's so hard with bringing on talent and retaining that talent. And I know even in the HR industry, hands down what this is like, but it's like, how do you scout that talent that you can find somebody who can be that 80% of Natalie?
Yeah. So we have a little secret sauce that for our
This is
industry,
for our
because
listeners, right? This
yeah,
is our
that's okay.
listeners.
I'm talking about it to a group of people on Saturdays, so it's okay. But and I encourage people to find this group of people. But these employees are part-time as needed. They are W-2 employees. They are not contractors.
Hmm.
However, the culture that we've created, and it does cause us some challenges. However, they put their schedule into our software, and then we schedule events for them based on their availability and their seniority.
Mm.
So we are looking at people that are like parents that their kids are taken care of in the morning, or they're older and they don't need them, or maybe they're an empty nester. And they can just say, hey, yeah, I'm available these days, and I'm going on a field trip here, and I'm heading out on a trip this other week. And they can just block it out without the guilt of having to try and get time off. And then they're loyal. They've been in the workforce before. They are
They
been
can put
parents.
themselves in your shoes, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. So
Yeah.
you have this kind of I guess you guys understand each other. That's part of what I'm hearing.
Yes, and they are so loyal and love the job so much and love the flexibility that they're getting,
Hmm.
that they stay with us for a long time. And sometimes they'll go to college and then they'll come back and work for us, and we keep seeing them. I've had people that work for us for 8, 9 years doing the events because they're
Hmm.
like, this is what I need for my family right now. I can work when I can. I can check in. I can check out. I make everyone's day. I'm a hero, that kind of thing. And then, yeah. And so it works. So that's kind of, as far as the recruiting, that has been a huge little secret sauce. And these are
Hmm.
the people you're going to find on Indeed, or, the job boards.
Right.
These are the people that hear about your business and see the perkologists in action and their friends and, schools
Word of
and things.
mouth. Word of mouth.
And then the other part of it is the culture.
Hmm.
So I hear time and time again, and this is kind of a gift I have that is working, is that I love to see and hear people and listen to them and just let them know that they're part of
They belong.
they belong, part of
Yeah.
the family. And it's the little things. An example would be, I have an employee and I remember she has chickens in the backyard and, so I'll come around and just check in
I
with
don't
her. I'm
like
like, how are
chickens.
your chickens? And
I
she's
don't
like,
like
oh my
chickens.
gosh. She's like, she had this hilarious video where her golden retriever and the chickens are playing in the backyard. And it's hilarious. And, she just said later that meant so much. She remembered the little things and check
Hmm.
in with me. And I can see people's face if they're having a hard day.
Well,
How's it going?
yeah. Well, and it proves that you listen to the people, right? And that
Yeah,
they want to feel like they are heard, seen, and valued, like Brene
yeah,
Brown talks about, but then
yeah,
they also belong, right? And
yeah,
so being able to remember something special about someone and then to actually go above and beyond and create that little experience for them really
yeah,
does wonders. And I think that's what that loyalty comes in because um, just like when I built fences, for example, I just loved to go to work because of the guys that I worked with. And it was
yeah,
like they made it fun and exciting. It was like if I went away and I came back, it was like it was fun to be a part of that. And you did feel like you belonged to something, especially
yeah.
when the boss knew your currency or knew your love language and knew like you appreciated a bonus or you appreciated a golf clap every time you arrived, or they knew that you did drink coffee, so they got you a hot coffee when they went to the store and they surprise you. And it's like it goes so far with
So
employees and
far.
clients.
Right, exactly. And so we are handpicking people that can create that experience and get that and value that so
That's
that they in
great.
turn do that for our clients. And it's the little things. It's
Hmm.
arriving, on time, very important. Seeing them, giving them your name and saying, "Hey, what is your drink of choice? I'll make sure I have it ready as soon as the machine's warmed up," and making it easy on them.
So I'm interested because that's less turnkey, right? You can't teach people to be kind and to be like go
Yeah.
above and beyond. But so what do you do with your franchises? What do you do? Like, do you have a list of like items or like, for example, when I speak, I give like 7 examples and I say, if you do X, Y, and Z, this will help, right? Like, do you do the same thing or do you
Yep,
just
we have a whole section on experience training is what we call it. And so there's
love
also
that?
YouTube video links in there. I do a talk called Go the Extra Mile. It's not very far because a
Hmm.
lot of times, Blue, it's the basics of business. Do what you say
A
you're
lot
going
of
to
people
do.
don't even know that, right? I think we take it for granted. Like, and you have
100%.
to be reminded, like, you just remember that this is it. It's like a clickbait of information. It's like, oh, I
Yeah,
forgot that it doesn't take that much effort to go above and beyond.
no,
And if I see it or I've experienced it, then you remember it that much more. And you're like, I want to provide that feeling or that
yeah.
experience to somebody else. And it's almost like the giving back, right? Like coming full circle.
Exactly. And these things don't take much time. They don't cost any money and can set you so far apart from, your other team members, your business, from other businesses. It's really the basics that take
Mhm.
you farther.
Can you tell me a story of that somebody has given you feedback like your company or your franchise piece has gone above and beyond and it's like you really made that experience, that event that much more memorable?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just got a testimony this week, and I just love it when I wake up on a Monday morning and there's a 5-star Google review. And so, people just talk about, and it's funny because it's the easy stuff. They're
Hmm.
like, Cassie was there on time. That's the basics, right? And she was kind, and
Punctuality.
yeah, I mean, really, if you want to get far in the working world and be promoted fast, just show up on time. That's 50% of what it is. And
Hmm.
do what you say you're going to do. That's probably the other 40, you
Hmm.
know? And so, just she was so kind. She was helped everyone figure out what drink they wanted, things like that. But personally, things that I love to do as far as in the community is I get the digital news. And when I see one of our clients or a client, maybe we've only worked with once, that are in the newspaper for any great reason, like I
Hmm.
snapshot that and we'll email it to them and be like, hey,
Oh,
this is super exciting.
staying in the
Congratulations.
know. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
And I'm not asking for business. I'm just saying I saw this and thought of you guys, and that was great. Another little simple thing that all of us can do is when you hear great feedback about somebody, um, I want to share that with that person. So, Blue, if I hear great feedback about you, I
Mhm.
want to share that with you so you know the great stuff that's being said about you. And we all want that and need that. And not enough of that is done. And again, it doesn't take much time. A quick
Oh,
email, a quick text.
no, that's so valuable. It really is. And I'm going to throw you under the bus and say that like when it is so difficult to get people to do reviews on like my book or on speeches that I've given or even on the podcast, right? It's like you can say, can you share it? Can you comment on it? Can you subscribe to it? And it's like to get people to do that is hard.
Yeah.
Right. And if you
Yeah.
can make it easy, it's great. And you are one of those people because you reviewed one of my speeches and that I'm grateful for that because it really does go. I'm not only thankful for it, but I think it does make a difference. Right. And it gives you that street credibility and it makes me feel special and like, wow, what I'm doing is making a difference. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm giving value, I'm making it memorable and I'm making it referable. And I think like within your franchises and your employees, if you can make it memorable and if you can make it referable and valuable, right? Because you're bringing that value. If you can bring those three things to it, that is what will make something go like wildfire, right?
Absolutely. And you just said our mission,
Oh,
which
perfect.
is to
I didn't
create
read that.
memorable experiences.
Okay,
Create
there you go.
memorable experiences. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, to your point, why it's so easy to do that for you. Again, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something.
Thank
And if
you.
I screw it up, I will definitely take accountability and make it right. But for you in that instance, you're so likable. You're so passionate about what you do. You're so giving with the knowledge and inspiring. It was just really fun to have that connection with you after you talked. And then to see you and know I was going to see you at the NERMA conference
Hmm.
the following week or two. That was great. And to be able to sit in and listen to one of your other talks. And I got to witness the engagement in the room. Like people were raising hands forever and coming and standing up in the front with you, and they were game for
Crying.
whatever. And
I love when the tears come. You're like, wow, you have this impact on people.
yeah, yeah. And you know, I went into other sessions and you know, it wasn't always the same. And some of
Mhm.
them were, but some of them weren't. So it's easy when you know, like, and trust a person, which is another factor in business,
Mhm.
is making that connection with people, however you do that.
Well, you're magnetic as well, and so I appreciate that, and I love that we have actually connected. With your business, was there a point in time where you were like, "Wow, I feel like I've made it." Like I know in 2022, I think you hit $1 million. Like, and you're obviously still you're always improving, you're always growing, and you can always scale higher and sell more franchises and be bigger and bigger. But it's like, was there a point where you're like, you know what? I am successful enough to say I did this. Where was there a point for that?
Yes and no. Do you know when you're a senior in high school and before you're a senior, you look at the seniors in high school and you go, God, I can't wait to have that. And they
Yeah,
just go,
they sat across the gym on the other side of the bleachers. And as a
yes,
freshman, I was like, "Ooh, yeah,
yes. And they're so cool. And then you become a senior and you're like, I don't feel so cool.
sure.
So yes, one of my themes in the last couple of years is to celebrate me and Pacific Perks because I don't think I do that enough. And so I really try and celebrate the little things. So I start every ops meeting with celebrations and or gratitudes because it's very important for all of us to know what is going on in our lives or what we're grateful for. So it's a practice, and I do take time. And you know, the $1 million was really, you know, something that I've been wanting for a while. And so it was like, yay, we got there. And then, you know, it's kind of on to the next thing. I think that's kind of the entrepreneurial mind.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're constantly changing and evolving. And I don't want to encourage the balls always out there, because I really try and be present with where I'm at and the
Hmm.
success I've had and be happy with that. But you are always, you celebrate and then you're on to the next thing. It's kind of like the football team. It's like they celebrate the win for the night and then it's practice on Monday
Yeah.
and next goal ahead. So yes, for sure. I love to celebrate things and take time to do that. Becoming a franchise was a huge celebration and a huge dream. So just initially just getting that franchise status was again a great thing.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and it's like as a senior, as soon as you become a senior, then you're a freshman in college if you go off to college, or
Totally.
you're a
Totally.
brand new rookie at a job. If you right out of high school, you're like
Percent.
you're the new person. So it's like you're all. I think that life is school, right? The day you graduate, it's not the day you stop learning. And so it seems like it's not the goalpost is always moving, but it's like you're always constantly learning and growing as an individual, or at least we should be.
You really should be. And that is something that I value in myself, and the people that are in my tribe is
Mhm.
people that value self-growth. Because if you don't, we're just not on that same wavelength. And yeah, it's just so important. And it's the good and the bad news. It's like, yep, I got this, to, oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure. With your tribe, let's say, how do you stay connected with them, and how do you stay as the boss and as the franchisee owner or something? How do you keep that connection, the fire going, the kindling going with those connections so that you're helping each other
Yeah.
within a work setting?
Right. So a lot of us work in different locations, and the percologists who do the events are in and out and working independently most of the time at a
Hmm.
client location. So it can be hard to bring us all together because there's a lot of
Sure.
different schedules going on.
And
So
this is
there's a couple.
pre-COVID and during COVID and even post-COVID, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
hard. Sure.
pre-COVID. Yeah, 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 for everyone. So a couple things that we do is we have like a super percologist board with their photo on it, and we hang it for so they know what cart is theirs to take for their event. And they've got little badges on there. So when they, with us a year, 2 years, or they've been trained on certain services, or they got an A+ review from a client or rave review, things like that. So we're constantly shouting out and giving out badges.
Hmm.
So the feedback that we get when we hear from a client, it goes to the whole team. Everyone shouts out about that. Another really good life business hack, whatever, is Group Me is an app. I'm sure there's other apps like that, but it's an app where all the whole team is on, and they'll post pictures from their events, they'll ask questions, there's banter, there's happy birthday messages, there's laughter, there's here's my Pacific Perks cup in California on vacation. There's all kinds of fun things, and there's a real community actually built there. And then we do try and bring the team, of course, together and icebreakers virtually and in person. um, and we just see and hear them. We do little goodies for busy days. If it's Halloween, we'll write a little note and there'll be a goodie bag, or little
I have to
touches.
do that with my wife more often because we do it
Yes,
with our
you do.
kids. And I used to do that
Yeah,
with my wife all the
yeah,
time, but after marriage, like, oh, I have to remember to do that because I think it goes so far.
yeah,
And I mean, you've hit on this so many times already, and it's that kind of that theme. It's like going above and beyond for these people, your customers, your clients, your franchisees. It's like that is so important. It doesn't take anything. And it's like you're making people feel important and you're making people feel like $1 million. And you're just rewarding them in a simple way. And if it works for them and that creates that collaboration and that viral moment where people talk about you
yeah.
when they don't know that you're listening,
Right,
that's
right.
priceless.
Yeah, and I've had employees that have left for different reasons. We want to support their growth, whether
Hmm.
they're moving or starting their own business, or going back to school. And they've just, I get these emails and they're just like, I just want you to know this was the best working environment ever. And we
Oh,
just
that's
want
great.
and they'll like if we're recruiting will post something on social media, and our past employees will be like, best job ever, best company to work for, kind of thing. And so that's what warms my heart. And it's the small things. It's just seeing them, and it's thanking them for coming to work, which,
Hmm.
do I have to thank them for paying them? Probably not, but I am so grateful that I have
Oh,
this team that comes to work every day and goes out and creates this experience for our clients, and yeah, and I
oh.
know what's happening, and I know they're doing a good job.
Well,
I'm
and
so
that's
thankful for that.
yeah, and that's special because that's the flip side of making other people feel important is that you're actually receiving it too because you know you're making a difference in this world because you're making a difference in their lives. You're making a difference. Their happiness and their sharing makes you happy too. And that's that boomerang effect. And that's wonderful. That's very special.
Which goes back to my why, and what we talked about in the beginning of your podcast is creating experiences for people. And it goes not just our clients, it's our
Hmm.
team, it's our franchisees. That's my why for building the franchise. Is I would love to give this opportunity to someone maybe in our same situation that needed a change, that needed to get their control of their life and
Hmm.
do something that they enjoy, but also have balance. I want to be able to give that opportunity to other people, and also the opportunity to create a team where people are working flexible hours so they have a life and their
Hmm.
life is better. And it just is like a ripple effect.
Yes.
That's really my why.
Oh, that's powerful, girl. I love that. Would then if that's your why, what is the hardest no you've heard in the franchise world? Like, what is the hardest no that you've experienced?
Oh gosh. So it has been hard. I'm going to be honest. I'm a real raw person, and I'm not here to say everything's great all the time. It has been hard. I had a person that we absolutely love, and I'm still in contact with her because you never know what's going to happen. And she was just what I thought was a fabulous fit. Had the hospitality experience. Her employees that she managed absolutely adored her. She worked so hard on the schedule to give them a life, and hear them and what their needs were. And she was just going to be great. And it turned out that we were so close to awarding her a franchise, and then personal stuff came up for her in her life, and it was a no.
Mm,
And it's just, oh, it's so heartbreaking when you feel like you have the right person,
hmm.
and then it just doesn't happen.
Turn out.
Yeah.
And so you have to pivot, you have to adapt, and you have to maneuver a different way. So
Yeah.
what, and you're still in contact, but like, what did you learn from that experience? Like, what did you do to pivot immediately?
Yeah. So I also remember a great pivot that I can tell you about as an example. So we had someone in another territory who was interested, and then some things changed on her end. Her father had passed, um, and I had to, after this one person I just told you about, it was a no. I was devastated, and my wonderful business coach, who I do a podcast with, said, "You need to take action."
Hmm.
I was like, oh, this is where I want to cuss, Blue. I was
Oh,
just like, dang it. If this is what I have to do, I'm like, I'm getting off the phone with you. If that's what I have to do, I just got to get off the phone and I got to do it. And so I called another gal that I really liked in another territory and said, hey, just wanted to check in. And she answered the phone. She knew it was me. She's like, no, how did you know I've been thinking about you? And this is what happened. This is why I've been out of touch. And I did get laid off, which is, an opportunity.
hmm.
And we ended up going down a road. So in 48 hours from my no, I had taken action that I did not want to do. I literally cut my meeting off early with him to call this person and I had a possible yes. And that
Mhm.
was really just a great example, hopefully for your listeners, but for me as well, of taking action and that good things are just around the corner.
That is powerful. And I think that is so important to hear because no matter what your profession, your ability to follow up and stay in the know with other people. And
Yeah.
that's like sending the little snapshot of what like an article to somebody. Just you're staying in the know of a client, a possible client, no strings attached. It's just like
Yeah.
you keep in mind of other people. And it's like with my speaking business, it is so hard sometimes if I apply for a job and I'm speaking with the event planner and we're trying to work it, and I'm like, okay, we go back and forth contract wise, and then they ghost me. And it's
Oh,
like, oh, what do I do? And do I take it personally? Oh, what am I going to do? And I don't I have to remind myself like maybe they're busy. Maybe they're prepping for something and they've just forgotten about me. And it's like I
no,
can't
it's
take
all
it
about us.
personally. Right.
It's all about us.
It's not, they don't care about me. They care about what their bottom line is or what they're doing
Right,
at the moment. Right. And so
right.
I have to relax and take a deep breath and say, okay, do the follow up. And I cannot tell you how many times I've done that. And they're like, oh, I'm so glad you reached back out because I had forgotten about this. It slipped through this. And I'm like, let's do this. Let's reconnect. And yes, let's book you. Right. And it's like, but it's painful because I don't want to reach out because I don't want to hear the no. It's
Oh,
painful because I don't know what the answer is going to be. And
oh,
it's like, oh, but sometimes you
yeah.
have to follow up. You have
You
to
have to
take
follow up.
action.
And I think it used to be like 7 or 8 follow-ups, for someone to maybe bite. And
Hmm.
I think it's into the 12 to 15 now. And so I know exactly where you're at. I think most people can relate to that. We
Hmm.
definitely just like, oh, they haven't, did I piss them off? Did I,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry, Brennan.
You
I
don't
said,
know. Yeah, you have no clue. It's not in your control, right? And
yeah,
it's like, but to stop, and I'm not telling everyone to be like constantly check in like every 10
right.
seconds and say, hey, did
No,
I get the job? But it's like, do the follow up, do the work that's required because you can't take it personally because you don't know. It might not even be you. You have no idea what their schedule is. You can't control that. And they'll let you know, and you just got to keep going at it. You got to stay with it. You can't,
stay in the game.
it's exactly.
Bob
You
and
can't
Weave.
take no for that answer. There because eventually you will get to that yes. You just got to keep knocking at that door.
Well, and to your point, that if people are on the fence, or maybe it's between two people and you're the one following up,
Hmm.
your credibility just goes up and they're like, okay, decision made.
Yes, and that is a nugget right there. It's like if you're willing to go that extra little bit, that 50% show up on time, that might make a whole difference, right? If you send your resume in and you hand it in in person versus like through email, do something that makes you stand out. It doesn't take that much effort. And that
Yeah,
is a great nugget.
yeah.
If you were to run into your past self
Hmm.
and you had the opportunity to tell your past self one thing, how to overcome that rejection, failure, or self-doubt, what would that one thing be that you would tell yourself?
Well, this is what I tell myself, and I'm currently telling myself because unfortunately, you don't just get 1 or 2 no's in your life. They come up, you know. So the biggest thing is remembering that everything always works out. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be painful, possibly, but it always works out, and relying on the faith that I've seen in my life that things work out. I have knowledge, I have experiences to go back on and say, look how we persevered through that. Look how we got through this. Look at how, and I was so nervous about this and so nervous about that. And I try and remind myself that the nerves don't help me become a creative person with resources and solutions.
Mhm.
Though that's hard, but I do know, Blue, that and I can be an anxious person in those times, and I do know that when I take action, I immediately feel better and move towards it.
Well, that reminds me of something my one of my martial arts instructors told me. and that was consider yourself a top, because the faster the top spins, the more smooth it is and the more relaxed you are. Even though it's chaotic and fast, it's like it's the time that you can move the easiest. And it's when you start to slow down and you start to think of all the things that you're going to topple over. And so I love that. That's powerful, Natalie.
That's
That's
a
great.
great analogy. I wasn't sure where you were going with that. Be the top.
Be the be the
I need
top.
a little more.
Be the top. That's right. Well, it sounds to me like you'd be an amazing person to work for, number one. So I love that. And you are magnetic.
Thanks.
How can people find out more about your franchise, and
Yeah.
how do they connect with you? What platform do you use now if they want to find out more about you, Natalie?
Yeah. So our website is pacificperkscoffee.com. So Pacific like the ocean, PERKS as in Sam, coffee, probably everyone knows how to spell that.com. And there's a franchise tab with all kinds of information. If people want to fill out an inquiry just to have a quick chat, they can always do that. I'm more than welcome to give my email out, which is natalie@pacificperkscoffee.com. So you can see me there. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there, message me, that kind of thing. And yeah, I'd love to I love empowering women and intentional men. So,
Intentional right here.
yep,
I'll be
I was going to say, and
intentional.
Blue, you're an intentional man. And so those are the types of people that we like to partner with, as far as, perkologists, employees, team members, vendors, and clients, as well as franchisees, especially franchisees. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure, and your interview has been full of nuggets. Whether you're an
Oh, good.
entrepreneur, a franchisee, or you're in business, or you're a leader, you have given so much. And thank you so much for jumping on here today, Natalie. And thank you for connecting with me personally and here. And I look forward to seeing you in future conferences, but then also staying connected.
Absolutely, Blue. And again, it was an honor to be on your podcast. And I think the world of you, and you have great things to share. So,
Well, I'm going to get you to have a cup of coffee one of these days. So I come down, we're having a
yes.
cup of coffee. Okay.
Yes. When I hit Spokane, I'll hit you up for sure.
Okay. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Navigating No. I hope you found today's conversation just as inspiring and insightful as I did. Since this is a brand new podcast, we'd love your help to make it even better. So if you enjoyed this episode, we would love to hear your feedback. And if you think someone else could benefit from hearing it, please share it and help us spread optimism and positivity. We release a new interview every Monday, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.